This is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast revisiting television sci-fi, fantasy, and everything in between.
This week, Automan, episodes 10 and 11.
Excuse me. You are, Mr.
Mann. Otto J. Mann.
Miss Hopkins. Mr. Mann. Mr. Mann, Miss Hopkins.
My pleasure.
Have you ever done any acting, Mr. Mann?
Oh, all the time. I think there's a little Robert Redford in my program.
How would you like to do a love scene with me? Right here. Right now.
Love scene? You mean like Rudolph Valentino in The Sheik?
Something like that.
Well, certainly. Where's my horse?
No horse, Otto.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast that's an 11 out of 10. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
Okay, here's what's real. Listen to my line reading of something from Automan. I'll try to give it a little something. You've made me look like a perfect fool. What do you think?
Pretty good.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll send it into
Yeah.
Glenn A. Larson.
Yeah, not a day of acting, folks.
He'll hire you on. Well, we're back for another Automan episode. Despite my best efforts, we continue.
Yeah, I know. You know, as with a lot of these things, you have this weird love-hate relationship because some parts is kind of fun to watch and it's silly and talk about, and this is always the most fun part. But then there's those dark moments when you're by yourself and you have to watch 45 minutes of this drudgery, and it's like, why are we doing this to ourselves?
Then you wake up the next day and you're like, that was about a 7 out of 10.
That is true. I'm like, that was terrible. Man, it's about an 8.
Well, before we get into this week, I think we've gone on long enough to really get a feel for Automan, which means it's time for us to recast it into a blockbuster motion picture for the year 2022.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we can get it out this year, so next year.
Next year, it's all the special effects we have to still do.
Yeah, there's a lot of special effects in this movie. I don't know about you, but when I started recasting this, and maybe it is my Automan fatigue, I was having a real trouble figuring out what this movie was once I got started. But it finally dawned on me when I cast Automan what this movie was. It all clicked into place as soon as I figured out the Automan casting.
My feeling was I don't really love my first bit of casting, but the last chunk is all just character actors I like. So that's the only part I'm excited about.
Right. See, I finally clued into what the modern Automan is with my first piece of casting. So do you want to cast Automan first?
Yeah, let's get into it. I'm excited already.
Well, let's go with your Automan first, and then we'll go with mine.
Okay, I have 2 picks.
Because I'm so excited.
I have 2 picks, but I'm not. I'll try to explain why I think. So we're starting Automan. Okay, I was going to go with Walter, but Automan. So
Walter, what is he, the star?
Yeah, he's not the star. So my first pick is I tried to think of this sort of personification of what a sort of insecure, not very self-assured, lacking in confidence, meek sort of man, what he would create, his ego, I guess. And I tried to think who kind of represents that, like, ultra masculinity and muscles and everything. So I put Henry Cavill, Superman himself.
I mean, that's not a bad choice.
Yeah.
I'll say I was thinking, I'm like, what is this movie? Who leads this film? And what does an Automan look like in 20? Well, how do you take this already like weak idea and move it into the modern age? And I realized there's only one casting choice: Ryan Reynolds.
Oh no!
Because if this were remade today,
yeah, you know what? I'm gonna give it to you right off. I'm gonna say my next pick was at least maybe somewhat physically similar looking, which was Alexander Skarsgård, just because I thought he'll do it.
Yeah.
But no, I think Ryan Reynolds is the thing.
I think
he'll be very smug. And he'll be very funny, and I'm the only person in the world who doesn't think he's funny. So
he'll be that way. He'll be that way where he's funny, but he's not actually that funny.
Yeah, and and here's the secret for everyone: he's good looking, so everyone has decided he's funny because he's marginally funny. He's not funny, everyone. He's as funny as George Clooney. Everyone said George Clooney's funny. Guess what? George Clooney's not that funny.
He's just movie star funny.
Yeah, exactly.
He can like wink at the camera just enough for you to be like, oh, that handsome guy's in on it too.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good Automan.
Really, I was just like, as soon as I thought of that, I'm like, oh yeah, I understand
Yeah.
this movie. I understand this movie now.
Yeah.
I understand why it's a blockbuster. All right, well, let's go into Wally then, our nebbish, if you will, our nebbish leading man.
I have 2 picks again. I've tried to pick someone who my first thought was, Wally, you don't really like him that much. You kind of need a punchable face.
Okay.
So I thought Miles Teller.
Oh, that's an interesting choice. That's not a bad choice.
Yeah.
I was thinking, who's the actor who plays Automan or Wally in the Automan series?
Oh, it's Ricky, or not Ricky. I think his character in I Love Lucy. Desi Arnaz Jr.
Desi Arnaz Jr.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Little Ricky.
what famous person's son could we get for this, and who would fit? And I realized it's Jaden Smith.
Oh, that's a pretty good pick.
I was just like, whose father is outlandishly talented and has had a son who is just doing his best.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be a better pick than my next one, but I went in a different direction for my second pick, which was who can maybe do something different with this character and maybe bring a little bit more three-dimensional characteristics and have it maybe be more of a real person and less of just someone who squishes their face against the windshield when they make 90-degree turns. So I picked Donald Glover.
Donald Glover, eh?
Mm-hmm.
That's
I don't know, but I just thought there was something about it. I thought this could maybe be something.
You know what? I like Donald Glover. I think that's actually a good casting with Ryan Reynolds to have someone who's like actually quite funny and smart on their own. It might be a nice offset because he can be I think he'd be an interesting straight man to Ryan Reynolds' character. Let's go with Donald Glover.
Okay.
I like it. All right. Of course, now we need Roxanne, the always forgotten other police officer.
Yeah, this is an easy role for whatever actress we pick. I have two.
Okay.
My first one, and I'm not that familiar with these actresses, so I apologize ahead of time. But I did see that this one actress, Karen Gillan, has played a lot of like sci-fi roles.
Oh yes, of
and
course.
a lot of things. A Scottish actress, and I thought, yeah, she could maybe bring something to this role.
I could see Karen Gillan being saddled with this role.
Yeah.
I went with
They put her in a little pair of shorts, and she's like, all right.
real Jumanji 2, 3, whatever Jumanji it was. I was trying to just think too. I'm just like, it's not a great role, really a side character. I was just trying to think. I'm like, what poor actress is having to do a lot of these days, and what can we make her do one more? And I immediately was like, what about the actress from Spider-Man and Dune, Zendaya?
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, she's in everything, so it's probably a pretty good pick.
And we can all sing that meme, Zendaya's Michi. Do you know that one?
No, I don't know that meme.
Good meme.
Oh, I'll check it out. Well, I think that's probably the best pick, but I'll give you my second just because. And really all I was thinking is, how do I get the kids? You know what I'm always thinking? How do I get the attention of the kids? It's the most important thing to me.
You drive around in your car all day thinking, how do I get these kids' attention?
How do I get the kids? And I was like, you know what's hip and hot with the kids? Riverdale, or at least it is at the recording of this podcast. So I thought I picked the girl playing Betty, Lily Reinhardt, I believe is how you pronounce her name.
Yes, of course. I've seen that show in passing.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think Zendaya, is that how you pronounce her name?
I believe it is Zendaya.
I think that's she's like Madonna. She just goes by one name.
She just goes by one name.
I think she's probably the pick.
She is probably like the right level for this. I don't mind your first pick, Karen Gillan, but let's go with Zendaya.
Okay.
All right, let's go with Lieutenant Curtis, which I'm excited about because I'm like, we need a Lieutenant Curtis, just this cop who like should be the most experienced and in any other show would be the lead, but is not in this show.
Okay, well, again, I picked two character actors that I really like because I figured they're just filling out the cast and they're really going to do the heavy lifting for, Ryan Reynolds mugging around all day.
Yes.
So, and I have...
Who's getting kidnapped?
Okay, so my first pick is an actor that I don't know how well-versed you are, but my first guess is it's Bill Camp.
Oh, I know Bill Camp's face. Yeah, he's what was he just in that I was watching him in?
The Stephen King one?
No, my brain is broken. It was I watched The Night Of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where he's the cop in that, and then someone pointed out to me he's also the chess janitor.
That's right.
In Rook's Bishop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the King's Gambit.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Queen's Gambit,
because it's about a lady.
Yeah,
Jordan.
sorry. Anyways, I think I like him. Every time I see him in something, he's just like solid. And I was like, we need more actors like that. So that's my first one.
Oh, Bill Camp is a great choice. I really like him actually as an actor as well. He's a underperforming character actor.
So what do you think?
Was going a slightly different way in that I was just like, we now need a cop who is just so elderly, just like Lieutenant Curtis, just like way too old, can't really do anything, but for some reason we've given him an action role.
By the way, as an aside, the actor playing the actual role in this TV show, it feels like he just told costume, I don't want to try anymore, because he's just like wearing like sweatpants and like windbreakers. I was like, I guess that's what the character is now.
And I very much, that is in my mind. I'm like, what actor can we get who will show up, but just enough? And that was Robert Redford.
Oh, poor Robert Redford. I think he gives it more than you're giving credit for.
I think he'd do a good job,
Yeah.
but I do think he would be like, he's like he'd be in he'd come in as this cop, but he'd be like, oh, he's too old. He's too old to be a cop still.
Yeah, there's a little bit of those guys from the 70s. You're like, yeah, I guess you're still in that role. Okay, well, my second pick, and again, I have a picture for you, Luke and Kiss. I think sometimes these people are...
This helps for me.
Their faces aren't
Pictures
as
help.
recognizable as you might remember. But another character actor I really like, not going as old as Robert Redford, because I'm looking now and he's 52 years old, it's Shea Wiggum.
Oh, yes, Shea Wiggum.
Another just great actor.
Yeah, yes.
Every time he's in something, I'm like, more of him.
What did I like him in? I believe it was the Broadway Boardwalk Empire. There we go.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's in that, yeah.
That's what I remember him from. He's the sheriff? No.
No,
he's the brother of Steve Buscemi. There we go. I got there. It's been a while. I never finished it. It was good though. You know what? I like Bill Camp for it.
Yeah?
I think so.
All right. I mean, he may not get his name on the poster, but you know.
He's not getting an and. It's not going to be and Bill Camp.
Exactly.
Like it would have been and Robert Redford, but I think that's okay. I think he'd bring a lot to it. He'd be able to do more. Robert Redford would just be pushed around in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking so mean to Robert Redford. He's
I
not
know.
that old.
He's not. He's acting like he's your grandmother's age. Luke's grandmother just had her 98.
She's
birthday.
98 years old.
Yeah.
All right. Captain Boyd.
I got two picks again.
I would say Captain Boyd is younger than Lieutenant Curtis on the show.
well, if you're casting Robert Redford, yeah, which we're not.
I meant on the show we're watching on.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have two picks again. My first is another character actor, Isaiah Whitlock Jr.
Oh, that's very good. Yes. From The Wire, most famously.
most famously The Wire. But he's just one of those actors where he's just super watchable.
Well, this would probably be my pitch for an and casting in this case. Captain Boyd has no role other than sitting in there and like yelling at Wally.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, how can I spice this role up? And for some reason, I thought the funniest version of this was Gal Gadot with her accent,
Wow.
sitting in there, just giving Wally hell.
Well, I'd like to say I picked something for my second pick that's along the same lines, but I don't think it is because my second pick was Margot Martindale.
Margot Martindale.
Yeah.
I love Margot Martindale. I think we've cast her before, but let's do it again.
Have we? I like the thought that I'm just casting her in every movie.
I feel
I mean,
like
she's a great actress.
She's great. I think she'd make a great sheet captain.
Yeah.
Is the same idea of just someone yelling at Wally,
Mhm.
and she would do a great job of it.
Okay. Well, this masterpiece is. Before we give the director, do you want to do a quick recap of who we have in this movie so people can whet their appetite for the director?
Sure. I don't have to recap them again later, though, right?
No.
Great. So right now, the cast for this movie is Ryan Reynolds as Automan, Donald Glover as Wally, Zendaya as Roxanne, Bill Camp as Lieutenant Curtis, and Margot Martindale as Captain Boyd.
Okay. So I have one choice for a director. I'm assuming you do as well.
Yes, that's correct.
Why don't you go first and tell me your reasoning?
All right, this was a tough one. I was trying to figure out who directs this movie, and I had a lot of trouble, and I don't know if he's quite the right fit. But I decided his knowledge of action and cops are what brought him to the table here, and I'm going with Anton Fuqua?
And
Fuqua? I believe that's how you pronounce it. He would have done Training Day, the Equalizer
yeah, okay.
movies. Very gritty stuff, but maybe he wants to try his hand at Ryan Reynolds-style comedy.
it's funny. I picked someone a little bit similar. At least I think maybe the reasons we have are similar. And I kept thinking about, the current state of these sort of big. I'm assuming this is like a big superhero type movie.
It's big for sure.
Yeah, it's. You said the budget's $400 million, I think.
I mean, how else are we gonna get that blue glow?
Exactly. And sort of Marvel and DC and these other companies, they're sort of getting these smaller directors to, theoretically put a stamp on the movies.
Get an indie in there.
But they're not putting their stamp on because it's just going through that.
They're not allowed. They're not allowed.
Yeah. But I thought, who they do it to next? Minari director himself, Lee Isaac Chung.
Lee Isaac.
It's going to be his. He's like, I just made a $2 million movie. Now it's time for a $400 million movie. I think we have the same reasoning though. It's like a director that you wouldn't think would do one of these big movies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Antoine Fuqua is that. I think you could easily see it now. I think he does very large movies. His are usually just much more like gritty. I like yours. I think that's a great idea. Let's bring this indie into a sausage factory and force him to like watch Ryan Reynolds make wisecracks after.
Yeah, we shoot the movie. We decide that we don't like 40% of it, so we reshoot it again, and then we get up some terrible
that's when
movie.
we bring Antoine Fuqua in.
Yeah.
We get him in just to redo all the action sequences.
Yeah, and then we go, you know what? Don't worry. The sequel that we just call Auto will be much better.
The Automan.
Yeah, the Automan. Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty good, actually. The Automan. Well, I'm only making Automan so we can remake it as The Automan.
Exactly.
Great, Jordan.
I think this is one of my favorite movies we've done.
I'm surprised.
Well, it's so much better than this show that we're going to talk about.
That is true. I'm not going to get into it because I only occurred to me as we were coming down. Sometimes we talk about which plot we would use from this, and I didn't want to do that because I couldn't think of it. But I realized as we were starting, I'm like, oh, we definitely just used that a ransomware episode where like someone's hacking the city because that's perfect. That
was
works.
the episode so far of we're going to talk about 10 and 11 today. Of the 11 episodes, that's the only one really that made sense for why Automan's there.
Yeah, either that or it's a hilarious movie where Ryan Reynolds tries to be a rock star and then a stripper and then he tries acting on his hat on.
I'm just saying now, I was a little disappointed in the stripping.
I mean, you wanted it and you didn't get it.
I did, yeah. Okay.
Here's the IMDb summary for episode 10, Murder, Take 1.
Before you give the thing, don't you think this is a dumb title, seeing as we just had an episode called Murder MTV and now Murder Take 1?
I would say this trilogy of Automan episodes is like the equivalent of The Simpsons where Homer has a different job every week.
Right.
Because this is just like, I was watching this and I'm just like, hey, apparently you guys don't want to make a crime show anymore, so why don't you just have Otto have a different job? Like just give up on the crime because you're already bad at doing crime shows. Just make him have a different job every week.
Yeah,
if that's what
I
you
know.
want.
It is what it's become. Anyways, I cut you off.
Here we go, you guys. A slight digression there. Former movie star Veronica Everly is suspected of the murder of a gossip columnist, Keith Gillette. Automan discovers a Hollywood producer, Michael Hagedron, has a greater motive for murder. As Gillette had discovered, Hagedron was financing a movie with drug money. Yeah, that's it.
I think that's it. Did you notice a couple of the people I want to point out that, what's his face? Gillette's played by character actor Ed Lautner, who I don't know if you were familiar with. He's in a lot of movies at the time. But what I was really weirded out about is, well, I don't know if I was weirded out. I was surprised, is Michelle Phillips plays Veronica Early. I don't know if you know who Michelle Phillips is. I didn't even know she did any acting. She's one of the singers from the Mamas and the Papas.
Really?
And I was like, I know her somewhere. And I looked it up. I was like, oh, she did acting? And like I saw she did like kind of a little bit in the 70s, like bits here and there. Maybe that was like her post-singing career. But I thought, what an odd choice. But then maybe that makes sense for this kind of show. Like, we got you one episode on Automan. And
she
okay.
lived next to Gunnar Larson, and he asked if she was busy that week.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, this week, Automan is going Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. And there's some of this doesn't make sense. I'm just saying.
I mean, whatever. It's insane. A gossip columnist has been murdered at the start of it, and of course, Lieutenant Curtis is put on the case. And the gossip columnist's assistant shows up with a pocket full of like scraps of notes of stories he was working on.
Yeah.
To which I believe Lieutenant Curtis is just like, "Oh, I've got a computer jockey. He'll handle all these notes."
Yeah. This is something that I think you mentioned right off when we started talking about this show. Is there's some knowledge of computers, but also not a lot of effort to want to learn more about how anything works. So their version is you just give a computer scrap paper without any directions or instructions or commands, and it just spits out answers.
Answer.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny too.
It's very like I maybe it was Kevin in the first episode mentioned. It's very like 1960s Batman TV show.
Yeah. And it's very funny too because like I think we've seen a variation of this. I think with receipts in another episode or something where I was just like, no, Lieutenant Curtis, this is your job to look at the clues. Like you should just read these over and piece together the evidence. But it's very funny. He's just like, let me give it to Wally. And then Wally turns around and he's like, let me give this to Automan. I'm like, nobody on the show wants to do their job.
Yeah. It's funny. I thought the same thing more so in this episode than in previous. Maybe it's just because we've seen so many. But it really does feel like Wally is never doing his job. He's just constantly getting stuff and like, Automan, take care of this. And then he like leaves. I'm like, where are you going? This is what you're doing today.
It's what happens. Captain Boyd gives the case to Lieutenant Curtis, who gives the case to Wally, who gives the case to Automan. Shit just rolls downhill.
Yeah, Automan gives it to Cursor. Cursor tries to sexually assault someone. They all laugh it off for some reason.
It's so weird. But yeah, basically Automan reads the notes the journalist wrote, and in the notes discovers, hey, he was investigating a drug smuggler named Michael Hagedorn, who has been investing his drug money in a film that his lawyer is producing called Silver Dawn. That movie stars his girlfriend because he's trying to get his girlfriend to the movies. I'm just like, what?
This is classic Automan. And for anyone who's unfortunately just listening to this now and didn't listen to the previous ones, Automan has a real complication problem. And again, they don't need to give you so much backstory about why this this investment to this movie is so important, but it's just like they have to tie it up in so many things. I'm like, what? There's a drug deal, and the drug deal, if it doesn't go through, then he doesn't get the finance for the movie because there's a bond company who's going to pull the insurance. She's like, okay, this is too complicated for a silly show where you need him to dress up as an actor.
It is very silly. And basically Wally gets the info from Otto, and then he's just like, okay, there's a drug smuggler investing money in a movie. That seems to be what's happening. If anyone had bothered to read that writer's notes, they would have all known this.
Yeah.
And then Wally's just like, thanks, Otto. Go home. I'm not going to tell anyone, but I'm going to go on my own private stakeout of the drug dealer's house.
Yeah, and let me ask you about the stakeout. So Wally goes, and now we've about halfway through this series, but episode 6 or 7, Wally now goes out and does stuff. Before, he always kind of pretty much was on the computer, and if he was going out, it was sort of against the police wishes.
Yes.
But now he I think someone along the way was like, we can't keep coming up with excuses for Wally to leave. Let's just actually have him actively be part of police cases and missions and so forth. But in this, he's like, I'm going to go investigate this guy who might be running
drugs.
Drugs, illegal money into this movie industry. But his plan is to sit outside the house on a stakeout. What is he hoping to see?
Well,
drugs coming through?
I don't know, because he doesn't see anything.
No, I know.
All that happens is one of the goons at the house sees him, and I think this scene is specifically here because we noticed in the last 2 episodes, but it seems almost only there. This huge goon, twice the size of the actor, comes out, and then Wally gets out of the car and beats him up.
Yeah.
And then drives away. And I'm like, nothing was discovered here.
Yeah, but what were you going to say? I think we have the same opinion, which is the reason that scene is in there is because they need him to look like a tough guy.
Yeah.
And which is the character they've added the last couple episodes. That every episode, Wally beats someone up, and it's like, what? It doesn't really make sense.
And this one was the most out of place, because at least in the last 2, it was at the climax they gave him the heroic turn. This is apropos of nothing.
Yeah, the guy basically comes and goes, what are you doing here? And Wally goes, don't ask me questions. And they get in a fight, and then the guy tries to shoot, and Wally drives off.
Yeah,
so he gains nothing, blows his cover. They know the police are onto them for something, but I guess Desi Arnaz Jr. gets to kick someone.
My note here is exactly, escapes having learned nothing.
Yeah.
At any rate, he left Automan behind, which is, again, another thing that this has become common on the show, is Wally gets information and tells Otto just to sit there.
Well,
which he never does.
It's funny. It's the note I made is, and I know there's maybe too many I Love Lucy connections at this point, but I don't know if I rewatched them, I'd feel this way from the beginning, but at least in this episode, I thought, this is an I Love Lucy episode. What it is Ricky is going off to the club, and he goes, Lucy, you stay home. You're not going to come. She gets jealous and goes, I am going to go, and then gets in some crazy, situation where she has to act her way out, and it's hilarious, and we all think it's funny. That's what this is. That's what Automan has become. It's just an update of I Love Lucy, where he gets told he has to stay home, he gets jealous, and then goes and ruins everything, but it all works out in the end.
It should be called I Love Automan.
It should be called I Love Automan.
But no, in this case, Automan, having been left at the police station, been told to not do anything, he hears that Veronica Everly, an actress who is potentially a suspect in this dead gossip columnist murder because they had a contentious relationship, she's there being interviewed as a suspect. And as we all know, Otto's a big movie buff.
Yeah, because he watches movies all day on his chest.
So he has Cursor dress him up as Agent Automan.
I'm telling you, I'm so sick of him dressing up as Agent Automan. He's in it more than Automan is.
That is true. He's basically an FBI man now.
Yeah.
And Agent Automan walks into the middle of a suspect interview, and all the police are like, oh, it's so good to see you. And they just have a meet cute in the middle of her interview.
He's like super flirty with her. She's reciprocating the flirt the flirting, and she basically, I think, invites him to come to the movie set
Yeah.
because she's attracted to him.
She's like, why don't you come down to check out the Silver Dawn movie set? And
That's right. The movie's called The Silver Dawn.
Silver Dawn.
Yeah.
He heads down to the old Hollywood studios, and he gets there just in time to see this. I was confused for a little while because I couldn't tell the difference between the actress Veronica Everly and the second actress who is also there.
Well, what's funny is until the end of this episode, Veronica, you never actually see her acting. She's just off sitting on the side, and I was like, is she actually in this movie, or did she just invite him to a different movie?
View a different movie.
Yeah,
but no, there's this other actress, Kitty Hopkins. She's the lawyer's girlfriend, I believe.
Yeah. So
no, she's the drug smuggler's girlfriend.
Yes, she's the drug smuggler's girlfriend, and the lawyer is there, sort of.
He's
helping to funnel the money. I think.
Yeah, I think he's producing the movie with the money from the drug dealer, and the drug dealer has put the money in, and he's like, the drug dealer's not as excited about this. He's only kind of doing it for his girlfriend and his lawyer.
Right.
Which is so confusing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as much of an investment as he thought it was going to be. Or
Yeah.
not as good an investment.
Not good. And Kitty Hopkins is having a very bad scene with the romantic lead of the film. And so she basically fires him on the spot, at which point the director is panicking because he's like, we only have 3 days left in the production and you just fired, I assume, the romantic male lead.
Yeah. And so I wasn't sure. Maybe it's getting caught in the weeds too much. I can only assume he hadn't filmed any of his scenes yet, and they don't have to go back and film
They
them.
saved them all for the end
Yeah.
with this one gentleman. And this is a very complicated problem in addition to that, because you hinted at this before. But if they don't finish this movie in 3 days exactly, the other investors in the film will somehow pull all their financing out, and then the drug dealer will have to cover their amount of so he'll have to, I guess, maybe double his investment. It's like a $10 million
Yeah, it's like,
film.
I don't understand what this deal is.
They're all shocked by how expensive this movie is. Like, I can't believe it's $10 million.
Yeah, but also, like, that's not how it works. You can't just, at the end, like, the money's been spent.
It's crazy, I know. Oh, sorry, it's $20 million film. But yeah, you can't just move it out. At any rate, so they need to get it, or he'll have to put it in. And the drug dealer can't put additional money into the movie because he needs that other money. That other $10 million he would need to invest to cover the remainder. He needs that to buy the heroin shipment that's also coming in 3 days.
This is such classic Automan. This is like, if I was like, what's Automan like? You're like, let me explain the plot to you. How much time do you have?
It is so funny. Like, it's just like every step of the way you're like, well, this doesn't make sense.
It's like, because what you have to know is they're working these scripts backwards. They go, what do we want Automan to dress up? And this week we go, we want him to be an actor. And so he has to pretend to be an actor. Okay, well, he'll be in a scene. And then they work backwards. The movie's run by drug smugglers. That's how it works. It's
We
like,
need a ticking clock.
Yeah, but it
How does
doesn't
that work?
Yeah.
He needs to buy drugs in 3 days. How does that affect the movie? If he doesn't finish the movie in time, then he won't have enough money.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's crazy. Thankfully for Kitty, though, after she fires this lead actor, she sees Automan just standing around amongst a bunch of grips. He's just standing out there.
But he's so handsome.
He's an 11 out of 10, Jordan.
Yeah.
And they're immediately like, you're hired. You're hired for this movie. You're perfect for the romantic lead of this movie.
Yeah, they give him the script. He powers through the script in like 3 seconds. He reads the whole thing. And then they're like, I think they're like, does he nail the part right away? He like does one scene and they love it.
Yeah, he's just really good in his one scene, and he like, he can read the script, and memorize it immediately.
But here's what's weird about it. And I know it's like, you don't really need to know how the movies work or the reality stuff, but they film him doing this scene, and then they go, we'll see if you get the part. It's like an audition to bring him back. I'm like, but you just filmed him doing stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't make a lot of sense either. But like, the point was, is like, he's there. They try him out. He's really good, and he's gonna get the part. The only part of this I liked is this director who he never gets named.
Exasperated.
He's kind of there. But what I liked was that at some point he turns after he does the audition, he turns to one and says, he turns to Otto and says, "Do you have an agent?" And Automan's like, "What's an agent?" And the quote from the director is, "Like a vampire with a phone." Which I'm like, that's a bad joke, but it also made me laugh a lot.
Right.
Like a vampire with a phone.
Yeah, but the director's really just there to be exasperated the whole time, and because, as you're going to know, he's just going to... I have to say, Automan's kind of plot is he has to sort of be as annoying as possible for reasons we're going to explain to delay things, but he actually really frustrated me watching this, and I just couldn't think... I'm like, you're wasting everyone's time and money being such a jerk. I hate you so much. This was the episode you really bothered me.
Did you, it just hit too close to home.
Maybe.
But did you catch Automan's full name?
Oh, I wrote it down somewhere.
He gave himself a middle initial for some reason.
What was it?
He's just like, fill out this contract. What's your name? He's like, oh, it's Otto J. Man.
Oh, that's right. You know what I did write down, though? He says at one part, he's like, I want to be an actor. He says, I could be an actor like Clint Eastwood. Dirty Otto.
Dirty Otto.
Yeah.
That's Homer's middle name too, right? Otto J.
Homer J. Simpson.
Yeah. That made me laugh. This whole episode, though, is basically, unsurprisingly, Otto's a great actor. Immediately, like right out of the gate, he's like a great actor.
He's good at everything.
And I realized as soon as this started happening, I'm like, oh, I know this movie. It's that Al Pacino movie, Simone, about that time they make a computer graphic actress who's so good she's going to take over movies, but it's just Otto, man.
I don't think anyone remembers that movie.
I had forgotten about it too until I started watching this.
Here's what I remember. It was Simone, but the I is spelled with a 1.
Yeah, and I believe the E is a 3. Because it's Sim 1. She's the simulation one.
Yeah, I got it.
It's good. Anyway, Lieutenant Curtis is, of course, doing his job and investigating the murder of the gossip columnist. And as he's doing that, he gets a little call with an anonymous tip at the police station.
He didn't say that. You know what he said? I guess I wrote it down because I laughed. A hot tip.
Hot tip. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
It's a hot tip. And it's a phone call comes in and says, hey, meet me after dark in a random alley by yourself. Which, of course, if you're a good police officer,
Yeah, Jack's like, of course I'll go.
No further questions.
Yeah.
At which point, a semi-truck smashes the shit out of his car.
It was again, this show is so weird, the tone. It's actually not a badly filmed action sequence of Jack in the car waiting, and this trailer just keeps smashing him over and over, and every time making the car a little bit smaller, and then just before you think it's going to like kill him, they're basically like, all right, now get out of the car. It was just like to scare him, I guess, but I thought it was a pretty effective scene in an episode that didn't work very well.
It's always fun to see a semi-truck smash something to pieces, and then Lieutenant Curtis is once more kidnapped by the bad guys.
Yeah, and the thing we've mentioned previously is that Lieutenant Curtis has been kidnapped so many times in this show.
It's crazy.
And it's like, what's odd about it is that it's never involved with the plot directly. It's a subplot, but not even a subplot. It's a series of scenes that they always have to add in that don't add to the plot, don't progress anything in terms
minor stake increase, but not really.
Not really, because like I think it was either last episode or the episode before where they're like, oh yeah, Curtis is captured. Anyways, we'll get to that later. And that's what it is too. It's like, it's not, and the thing is, it doesn't even raise the stakes in the world that they create for the villains.
I mean, the best example of that was the time he went to that tropical island and got thrown in jail, and he's just like, just leave me here.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So just so you know, he's going to get captured again. He is captured, and it doesn't really matter.
I mean, at least it's not Roxanne getting kidnapped every time.
That's true. Yeah, at least they're doing it to the male character.
That's true. You would expect this show to only kidnap Roxanne.
Yeah, and this show does have a lot of those sort of tropes that are indicative of this time period, this mid-70s to mid-80s. But weirdly, the biggest, what I would call maybe sexist problem with this show is not over-sexualizing or putting the female character Roxanne in situations that are stereotypical female positions, like you're saying, being captured and need to be rescued and stuff. It's something almost even more weirdly sinister, which is just don't give her anything to do because we don't know what to do with a woman.
Yeah, she's a non-entity.
Yeah, like she is given almost as much screen time as Cursor, and Cursor is a glowing ball that can't talk.
Yes, that is true.
You know?
Oh man, I hadn't thought of it. Yeah, they basically do have the same amount of screen
pretty
time.
much.
As much to do.
Yeah.
At any rate, I'm not sure why this happens, but for some reason, Automan wiretaps. I mean, I guess the only reason it happens is for the for the exposition. But Automan is wiretapping the phone of the drug dealer so he can hear a conversation between the lawyer and the drug dealer.
And I can't remember, is he just using his powers or is he actually wiretapping?
Well, that's what's funny. It appears that he has had Cursor create basically an AT&T van.
That's right.
So with all the wiretap equipment, I actually thought at first when the scene started, I thought it was an actual police, like separate characters from a police like wiretap unit. But no, it's just Automan solo. Wally's not even there.
But that's the thing. It's like he has these powers. He could just walk up to the place. He
could
go through the wall.
Walk through the wall. He could jump into the phone line.
Yeah.
Shrink down, sit in the phone.
Or apparently he can just go up to the phone line and go, "Hello, Mr. Phone," and the phone would tell him the information he needs. So you've established all this weird world, but they have to, for whatever reason, dress him up again, but just for a scene, which has happened in the last couple episodes where he doesn't dress up once. He dresses up like 3-4 times an episode. Anything other than having him look like Automan, which we've established is the best looking thing on this show.
Yeah, it's very silly. And like basically all he finds out is sort of stuff we've already explained is like, if they don't finish the movie by 6 p.m. tomorrow, they can't buy the heroin.
For reasons.
Automan's just like, well, what I'm going to have to do is stall this production till 6 p.m. tomorrow because that'll stop heroin. It doesn't make any like what stopping this movie does to solve the heroin problem never makes any sense.
Yeah, because they've made some tenuous connection between the finance being tied up in this movie, but how the heroin deal stopping or going forward, or the movie stopping and going forward, doesn't really coalesce into anything that makes sense for a viewer. And I don't think it's just us watching it in 2021. I think it's, even in 1984,
it's tenuous.
It's tenuous at best, and I think you're just supposed to not pay attention. You just know that the stakes have never been higher.
Yeah. So Automan's plan is, I'm going to go stall this movie out so it's going to finish. Before he goes, he's like, I did manage to get the first 4 digits of that phone number, and they did mention they kidnapped Lieutenant Curtis. So if you guys can figure out where these phone number digits go to, you'll find everything.
And I'm sure we've said this in the past watching this show, but it's insane to have scenes and tasks that seem designed for a computer and give that to a human and have the computer do things that are designed for a human.
Yes.
And it's just bizarre.
It is crazy because now it's Wally's job to just look at a phone book until he finds the right phone number.
And I mean, look, we shouldn't criticize too much because guess what? It works.
I mean, it does work. Wally's able to determine the abandoned warehouse has just got a new phone line installed in it.
Yeah. And again, I mean, you can't pick too much, but the idea that he looks through what city? They're in California, right? They're in Los Angeles?
Los Angeles.
I'm assuming there's quite a few warehouses.
you would think.
Yeah.
And a few phone numbers.
Yeah, and he found the one phone number that's into a new warehouse, and he's like, well, that's fishy. I'm like, not necessarily. What if it's a new startup company and the first thing they did was put in phone lines? But it's like, I understand that's being picky, but of course he's right.
It is a stretch, I know. And him and Captain Boyd jump in a car. They drive over. They rescue Lieutenant Curtis from the goons, although not before Captain Boyd is shot badly.
Yeah. It's the first time we've seen the captain kind of go out on, I want to say a mission, but like on a case, go out to be on the line.
He's certainly like in the middle of an action sequence.
Yeah, and he runs in, pulls his gun. They shoot him immediately, which I think both of us thought it looked like it was his chest.
Oh, yeah. He went down so hard. I was like, did they just kill the captain?
But no, he's like kind of winged on the arm. But I have to say, he's a bit of a badass because he still kind of apprehends the guys. And then they're like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm all right. Not only am I okay, not hurt, I'm going to go do this again in a scene 2 scenes from now.
Yeah. He just walks it off, and then him and Lieutenant Curtis hop in a car. Not Lieutenant Curtis' rescue. He's like, I know where the heroin is.
The 2 oldest guys on the cast.
They drive off to the docks, bust in on the heroin sellers, and then like beat them up and stop the heroin.
Yeah. Which is funny because it almost feels like this could have been, a special episode where you just follow the other characters. Like, what do they do when Automan and Wally are off? It's like, it could have just been Curtis.
Super adventures.
Yeah, the adventures of these 2 old guys who were actually doing like
police work.
Police work, yeah. But, I mean, maybe too much to ask for this show.
Did you notice that the heroin goons were playing a card game?
Oh, yeah. And what was it? They say something when they win. What is it?
One of them throws down his cards and stands up and yells, Gino!
Gino.
I don't know what that is, but I like it. Anyway, back on the movie set. There's 3 hours left to finish the movie.
Yeah, so first they said there was 3 days. Now there's 3 hours. So what we haven't seen apparently
there's been a full 2 days.
It's been a full 2 days of Automan being the most obnoxious person, because the gag that we've seen previously is now it's how much can he delay the movie by acting like a prima donna, sort of.
Yeah,
and it's actually more than that. It's like it starts out that, but it's like it's to the point where no one would believe he's just temperamental or difficult. Like, he's quite actively trying to wreck the movie. There's no way you could think anything other than that.
No one's gonna miss this. No one's gonna. He's late. He wants special food. He wants a trailer. He can't remember his lines. And like,
and not only that, and then he's like, they've lit one way. He's like, I want the scene to be lit this way, and I want to change it to snow. And you're just like, and they just are, I guess, in such a difficult position that they only have 3 hours left. That
they're
like
give in to all of his demands.
Yeah. I just wanted to say to the director, I was like, you probably have a double, right?
Yeah, you have enough. Don't worry about it.
Just shoot him from behind.
Well, that's what I kept thinking to him.
Fix it in ADR.
There's only 3 hours left. Like, what could you be missing?
Yeah.
You can't be. You probably have enough.
It's because it's that weird TV movie version of what movies is for the viewer, and it's like, well, it's the end of the movie, so we must be shooting the big final scene. It's like, no, they shot that weeks ago.
It is very stupid, and it's very funny too because that what's her name, Veronica Everly, I want to say, the actress we haven't seen since the beginning of the episode.
That's what I mean. It's like she's just been sitting around, and again, until this scene, I was like, is she in this movie or not? But she is, and it's such a weird character to have brought because they've doubled her with another woman. Why didn't they just have the other woman be the character?
It does feel like there's only need for one actress and they have two. I guess I don't know, they're playing a love triangle or whatever. But like she walks by and Automan's just being like so like ruining this movie, and she walks by and she like winks at him because I guess she knows he's an FBI agent because they met the police agent. But she winks at him. She's like, "I get it. You're trying to do something here." And I'm just like, "How? What?"
The quote I put is she says to him, "I like your style," and I was like, "Well, of what? He's ruining the movie that you're getting paid for and all these people are getting paid for, and this is what your job is, and he's ruining it for reasons he has not explained."
No, not at all.
And you're just like, you know what? Let's see where this goes.
Let's see what happens. And it all culminates in Otto decides to slow the movie down by he summons Cursor. They turn on a big wind machine.
Which, by the way,
everyone
sees Cursor.
I know, it was insane. Everyone's like, huh. But like basically they turn a wind machine. Snow starts falling. It's so chaotic. Like the entire set literally starts exploding. Like there's like Roman columns in the set, and they start just exploding.
Yeah. For some reason, there was a lot of dynamite that was ready to go.
It was insane.
But it's to show the amount of destruction they do. Which, if we haven't made it clear before, there is no reason to have done this. Like the delay itself is annoying enough, and could have just been done by his annoying behavior. But there's no reason for them to delay.
He's destroying an entire studio now.
Yeah. And there's no reason.
It's true. This is a little off topic and a little to the side. Could you figure out what time period this movie they were making was set in?
I thought the same thing. I think it was supposed to be some sort of 1930s Great Gatsby-esque sort of thing is what I thought.
That is 100% what I thought too for almost the entire time I was watching it. But there's one scene where Automan comes to work and he shows up, the set's behind him that we've seen this whole time, and they seem to be shooting women in workout gear doing aerobics in the middle of the set.
Oh, really? I didn't notice.
Just in the background. And I just kept waiting for them to explain what that was, and they never do. And I was just like, I don't know what this movie is.
Yeah. Well, I like the title. What was it? It was
Silver Dawn.
Oh yeah, the Silver Dawn. Yeah.
At any rate, this is basically concludes the movie. Everyone's running off the set, and we cut to the drug smuggler's there. He's with his actress girlfriend who's put in this movie, and the lawyer producer's there, and they're all walking out together. And then the girlfriend turns to the drug smuggler and says, "Have I got a surprise for you?" or something to those lines.
Yeah.
She steps away from him, walks up to the lawyer producer, kisses him.
She changes allegiances.
She's like, "We're double crossing you."
Well, here's the thing about this, though. Yeah, they do this double cross with a couple minutes left in the episode. But the weird thing is they didn't invest any time in her. So we don't know about her. We don't know her motivations. We don't know her character. We don't know the lawyer. We don't know anything about him.
We don't know anything about the drug smuggler.
So we don't know anything about him. So this turn, is the audience supposed to be shocked because we've just met these characters?
Well,
it didn't make. I was like, okay, so why is she doing this? Doesn't make sense.
And all we know is Automan has now stalled the movie 3 hours, which just means now this drug dealer has to put the money he was going to put into heroin into finishing this movie. But the lawyer pulls a gun. He's just like, "I'm robbing you now. Give me the keys to your house. I'm going to rob your safe." I'm just like, to what end?
I know. It wasn't like they set it up that this guy, this lawyer, was purposely trying to get the drug smuggler to invest in the movie because he knew that it would crumble and thus he would take over his empire or something. That's not good, but at least maybe there's a sense of logic.
No, yeah, it comes out of nowhere, this last second double cross, and even that lasts 2 seconds because then Wally walks in. He's like, "All three of you are under arrest." And like 2 of them are like, "Okay," and one of them runs off and claims some scaffolding so that Wally can have another action scene where he like wrestles him off the scaffolding.
And then he gets to like swing down on a rope like he's Robin Hood or something.
Yeah, and Otto gets to make a bunch of cardboard boxes for a guy to fall onto.
Yeah. That's the action scene we went through as fast as possible because it doesn't matter, and it's like it just feels so perfunctory. But the one thing I want to say is after he's killed, I'm assuming he's killed some grips and gaffers and stuff in this destruction. But then he leans over to Wally and with a real wink he goes, I guess my performance is a real showstopper. And you're like, oh, okay, thanks for the pun, Automan.
But this cuts to the classic Automan button at the end where we wrap everything up. And Lieutenant Curtis, Captain Boyd is usually in these, but I guess because he had so much to do this episode, they cut him out of it, give Roxanne the button.
Yeah.
And the button is just there looking at gossip columns, the trades or something, and all the trades are talking about, like, what happened to this sensational new actor from Silver Dawn that's disappeared? What happened to Otto J. Mann?
But again, it doesn't make any sense because the movie never came out.
Yeah.
It didn't get complete. So I'm assuming they have enough footage if they only didn't shoot a couple days left. They'll go do reshoots.
The assistant editor saw it.
Yeah.
You can't believe it.
They'll recast him. So who like someone looking at the raw dailies is, I got to go talk to the gossip rags about this guy. Like, I know, and the whole point is, why are we talking about this? Why are we getting caught in the weeds? It doesn't really matter because the point
It's
is
just so Automan can be like, I retire from acting.
and so he could pull out a headshot and be like,
Oh,
do
yeah,
I
that's
still
right.
do autographs? And it's actually the guy's headshot. And
I
it's just like-
forgot that Chuck Wagner pulled out his own headshot.
and it's like, that's what all this is for. And this is such a mess of a dumb episode.
So dumb.
It's just so dumb.
Oh, well. Well, you ready for the next episode?
I am.
Here is the IMDb summary for episode 11.
Zippers, which, by the way, it made me laugh because there's a strip club in town called Zippers.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if it's still here. It used to be here years ago, Zippers.
Well, we'll have to look it up and go after the show.
Anyway, someone look it up. I'm sure there's many strip clubs called Zippers. It's very clever.
Are you, angry with me, Walter?
No, I'm not angry. Furious, yes, but not angry. I've been waiting for you for 20 minutes.
I couldn't help it, Walter. 5 encores. And $347. Here, take it. It's for you.
I don't want it. This is exactly the reason I left you behind. You've disrupted my entire investigation.
Would it help if I told you I've uncovered the connection to all those burglaries?
No, it would not help. When are you You did what?
Automan goes undercover as a stripper in a ladies-only strip club. Exotic dancers Gary Baxley and his partner Stanley are suspected of making wax impressions of the owner's keys and burglaring their houses when they are out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bit of a confused synopsis, but it's basically there.
Yeah, the basic plot is there's a series of robberies. I can't remember how many they say
Hit
here.
25, I believe.
Yeah, so there's been a series of robberies, and the one thing that's connecting all of these robberies, other than I'm assuming they're in one major area of Los Angeles, one neighborhood, is that there's no forced entry. It seems like
they've come in.
They've come in either all these people have coincidentally all left their doors open, or these people have somehow been able to get in with the key. And Wally apparently in the past weeks has been trying to figure out what the connection is. Or at least they've been working at some point on this case.
Yeah, I mean, as the episode starts, what we're seeing is the first one of the robberies take place, and what we come to learn is that it's one of the male strippers who's in there who when we see him at the strip club later, his gimmick is he dresses as a cat burglar when he strips.
That's right. Yeah, you see him go robbing, being a burglar, and then his character as a stripper was a burglar. I think he just saved money. It was like a 2 for 1.
Saved money. When we see him basically stealing a bunch of jewelry, but they really focus in on this very large ring he's stealing.
Can I mention though? Did you notice who that actor was?
I did.
Yeah. Should we say now?
You might as well.
Okay, so the guy who plays the burglar is James Morrison, who I don't know if he's that well known, but for us and for people listening to the podcast, he played Colonel McQueen in Space Above and Beyond, and I recognize him right away, but he's much, much younger, obviously. This is a good 10 years before, but right away I was like, oh, It's
so funny. I didn't clue in till the last 10 minutes when I was just like, why is he so familiar? And then I was like, I looked him up, I'm like, oh, he's from Space Above and Beyond.
Yeah, so it is funny how often we see actors appear in one show and then we'll watch a show decades later and that person shows up again.
It was fun to see a connection like that for sure. But yes, he's there stealing jewelry, steals this one very large ring before he hops in his car, heads back to work at Zippers. And
you know what I like though? As a burglar, he had a very smart bag he put jewels in, and I'm assuming it's a bag designed for jewels? Because that's what it seemed like. And I was
It
like,
could
oh,
be.
I've never seen that before. Anyways, I thought it was a nice little bag.
Jeweler's bag of some sort.
Yeah.
He gets back to work. He's got to get out there, do his cat burglar stripping, and he basically hands the keys off he was using to the club's valet. And this is sort of the premise of like, oh, it has something to do with these two men at this strip club. And coincidentally, though, that ring he stole contains a microchip filled with the names of people in witness protection.
This is and you're giving a bit of information that's going to take a whole
it takes
episode
a long time to get to.
And again, the idea that there are strippers who are
cat burglars,
also cat burglars, I think that's enough for a TV episode. Like, that's zany and out there enough. Why they are so desperate to add more layers, which is, it's not only just the microchip,
well,
but
that's
it's
it.
also
There's
the
a
witness
layer
protection
on top of this. There's
Yeah.
one on top of that because it's a big ring he's stolen with a list of witness protection names on a microchip inside the ring, and he's stolen it from a house of a man who works at a company. It's not the government. It's just a company that also has this information. He's stolen the microchip.
It's a private security company that has the information.
He's stolen this microchip with these names from his work, and he is going to sell it to the mob before it was stolen from him. So now he's in trouble with the mob because he doesn't have the microchip he's supposed to sell to them.
Yeah.
So there's like layers upon layers of complicity in this crime that starts off as a burglary. These burglars don't know any of this, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just coincidental. The idea that these people have set up, I'm assuming, a strip club just for the alibi. Like, I don't understand.
I think it's just a coincidence they got a job there because the strip club is owned by someone else who's not involved in the burglaries.
Well, but it does seem like there's more than a few that are involved in what we will learn is how they're getting the keys and stuff, right? So it seems like the business, or is it just that the business is very convenient to get valet keys?
Well, yeah, we'll get into it, but I think that's the thing is the valet is his partner, and the valet, as he parks rich women's cars to come to the strip club, he takes the key ring and makes copies.
Mm-hmm.
And then the burglar goes out and steals while they're at the strip club and then comes back, and that's the whole crime. It's insane. Anyway, obviously, which is not obvious at all, the man who stole the witness protection names for the mob calls the police to report the crime.
Yeah.
Because he's hoping they'll find them for him. And this was what brings Wally and Automan basically into investigate. And, Automan runs the past 25 robberies.
Yeah. And maybe I'm wrong, but they're like, we need to find a connection between these robberies. There's got to be something. So we put it into the computer, as you do. You put paper into a computer, and it gives you answers. And what they find is 3 of the 25 home evasions were people who went to Zippers.
I know.
Now, how would they have possibly found that information? And let's say there is an easy way to have found that information. Maybe it was interviews with each of them, and they found there's a word that comes up in all the interviews or something. Sure. But is 3 out of 25 enough?
Is that enough of a coincidence?
Because I'm going to assume of the 25, 2 people went grocery shopping that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's so tenuous.
It's such a tenuous thing. And the thing is, they miss an entire beat here. Because I think where they're going with this, which maybe there was in a draft, is the idea it's like 3 of the 25 people who we interviewed admitted to being at Zippers. So then you have a scene where you're interviewing the woman whose house is robbed and she doesn't want to tell her husband she went to the strip club. Like, that's what that seems like it should be going, but that doesn't happen. They're just like, 3 of the ones are connected to Zippers. We gotta go to this strip club. I'm like, what?
And on a separate note, it's funny that they have decided this is a strip club, because obviously this is network TV, but it's network TV in the 1980s. So the stripping is very tame. You have maybe a man take a top off, but the whole point is so you can have Automan do a dance strip sequence later, right? But they could have said it anywhere. It doesn't have to be a strip club, and it seems like they made it difficult for themselves, and then they were like, why did we handicap ourselves? It's like, well, yeah, why did you? You could have had it. It could have been a vaudeville club. It could have been a bar. It could have been anything. If the whole point is it just needs to be a place that had valet. That's it. That's all you need.
That's all I needed. It's true. And this is basically enough to, it's Wally's big break in the case. He runs into the captain's office to tell him, it's like, hey, Lieutenant Curtis, Captain Boyd.
I like this scene, though.
I figured out where we should go. And they're like, Wally, shut up. There's an armed hostage taking. We don't care.
Yeah.
And then Wally's like, well, should I do something? They're like, we don't care. And so he's like, okay, I'm on the job.
Yeah. They're like, we have more important cases than these weird robberies. We don't care. We have real things happening.
Just throw him out of the office with his information. I'm like, I mean, I understand you have a crisis, but like, I think you need to listen.
But what I like though too is because again they have to have an excuse for Wally to go out. They can't just have him on a case for some reason.
Yeah.
So they have to add a scene where everyone just goes, "We don't care. We're going to ignore you." It's as if the viewer's like, "How did Wally get a case?"
Well, then it's so funny too because he's like, "How am I going to get into this women's only strip club?" Which, by the way, homophobic.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm going to have to get Roxanne for a scene so she can go to the strip club and then let me in a back door.
But what is the hilarious thing they have?
Well, that's the big joke is they get there and she's like, I've never been to a place like this. And the bouncer's like, oh, you're our regular Roxanne. And you're like, oh, Roxanne.
Yeah, it's like,
I know it's nothing.
It's just nothing. I don't even get what's the joke. The joke is she goes to a strip club.
Yeah.
What's the joke?
She goes all the time. She's a regular there, but she was telling Wally she doesn't. I'm like, who cares? I don't
Yeah,
care.
who cares? Yeah,
I don't care.
To be fair, a lot of the show could be chalked up to who cares.
I was just like, why can't Wally just walk in the front door? I don't understand.
And again, this is a scene that creates what you think is going to be an obstacle, but it's not, because Roxanne then goes, yes, I'll go in the front. Immediately it lets him in the side, and he's in the club. Now, does Wally get thrown out? No. So there's no reason.
I know.
There's no reason to add the line that men can't be there. It's like, why?
Well, when I was just like, I need Roxanne to help me with this. I'm just like, is she gonna, like, I thought for a second he was gonna dress in drag.
Look, I know this is bad and that would have aged poorly and it's not a scene we need to see on TV and stuff anymore. However, it would have at least made more sense. I'm just saying, it would have made more sense.
None of the ways they could go, they choose to go with it. At any rate, Wally, has become really common now, is like, Automan, you can't come. Which, barring the fact that maybe you're right, Automan doesn't need to come. At this point, we've established, if you tell Automan he can't go, Automan's going. Like, why even bother telling him not to go?
Because it's I Love Lucy.
Exactly. So Automan gets to Zippers first, parks his car in a very tight space.
Well, okay.
I wasn't going to talk about this, but his parking job is really focused on.
I don't know why. It's like I know why, because he wants to give them his digital keys, I guess.
No, not even that.
Because he doesn't, right?
No,
so
he just parks in a tight space.
The valet goes, do you want me to park the car? And he goes, no. He parks in a remarkably tight space, which, by the way, when he gets out of the car, they don't show up. I'm like, because there's no way he physically could get out of the spot. There's like an inch on each side, maybe. But he then uses his super hearing and supervision to watch them essentially cut keys.
He basically gets out of his car, goes into the employee's entrance of the strip club, which I guess Wally could have done himself as well, but he didn't. Goes in, uses his X-ray vision to just see the stripper and the valet making copies of keys, solves the crime within the first 10 minutes of the episode.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's just like, oh, mystery solved.
But why did he have to bring his car in? Just walk over.
Yeah, there's no reason. So he solved the mystery, and the only turn here is the owner walks by and says, oh, are you the replacement dancer I ordered? You're on.
Yeah, and this scene goes on and on and on.
I do like, though, there's this moment where he's just like, doesn't know what he's going to do, so he walks into the dressing room, and one stripper who looks exactly like Geraldo
he's playing Robin Hood,
explains to him, you need a gimmick. So he's just like, my gimmick's electricity. I'm Otto, the high voltage electrician.
I know. His stripping character is an electrician. I just love that it's just an everyday job.
Listen, I know.
Is there anything more erotic than electrician?
No, there's nothing more erotic. I know you're excited for this strip club episode.
Oh, man.
When we saw the first stripper on stage dancing and he took off his shirt and then ended his show, I was furious. Like,
I know.
They don't even take off their pants. And then we have to watch Otto dance for 5 to 10 minutes of this episode.
I mean, it feels way longer.
And he strips into his other set of clothes, his glowing Otto clothes, and I'm just like,
and the crowd's going crazy.
I'm just like, listen, we don't want to objectify anybody, but like, if you go to a place to watch someone take off their clothes and they just took off their clothes to wear another set of clothes, you'd go insane.
It's the weird thing you sort of need to suspend your disbelief in the show, is that the women are so excited because he's A, such a good dancer, B, he's so good looking, and C, because he's taking his clothes off. But you don't really get any of that. He took his
clothes off, just wear another set of clothes. You don't even get it. Like, it's not like you get to see he has got great abs or something. You get nothing from Otto.
Here's what I wrote down. His name was Otto the High Voltage Electrician. I came up with a better name.
Okay.
Autoerotic.
Oh, autoerotic is good.
It's way better, right?
Oh, 100%.
And like, that was a scene. I wrote it down right away. I was like, guys, You had a whole room of writers.
You walked away from this. It's very funny. Like, the entire time he's dancing is nothing but ADR puns about him being an electrician.
Yeah, and there's like one bit where like an old lady tries to get him to like cash a check.
Oh, well, that's it. She's run out of money because everyone's. Here's the ADR lines I wrote down because I only wrote down 2. It's like one ADR line. Someone yells, "Charge my battery, Otto," and the other ADR line thrown by a woman is, "Hot wire me."
Okay,
that was just a bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
but yeah, like they're all putting money. Here's the thing: they're shoving dollar bills into Otto's pants so he can take those pants off, which made me angrier than ever. But yes, there's a scene where an old woman's just like, "I'm out of money. Will you take a personal check?"
Yeah, but he does his dance. Wally and Roxanne see him. Of course, it's very similar to the previous episode where he's playing guitar. They need him to get off stage. He tells them he made, I think it's $347.
I know it's not. It doesn't seem like it's anything.
No, and maybe my favorite part of this episode is Wally says a line that I don't know who is for, and what he says is because Automan's very excited, which is something they really don't. They kind of play with, but maybe not enough of the sort of childlike wonder that he should have, is that every new experience is great to him. And this is like, he's just so excited. He's excited at the crowd response. He's excited to be good at it because he's good at everything. And Walter says to him, because he's irritated. He's very irritated. And I don't know why. I think it's the morality, I think. But anyways, Wally's really angry about this, like for several scenes. But he says to him, "You're a regular Gypsy Rose Lee." And I went, what? So I looked it up because it was such a peculiar line. So and maybe someone knows who this, but Gypsy Rose Lee was a lady who did 1950s burlesque who was quite popular in the 1950s. So either Wally is very, very knowledgeable of burlesque dancing. That my thing is, this reference in 1984 is already 30 years old.
That's crazy.
So it's like, it's 60 years old at this point.
Who's getting this joke?
Who's getting this joke? And it just feels like someone who wrote it and then they just left it in. Like, it's so much worse than making like a comment that makes, like, they always talk about he plays tennis like Jimmy Connors or whatever. People still kind of know who Jimmy Connors is now. And they would have definitely in the 80s. But like Gypsy Rose Lee, it just was it just stuck out so badly.
I'll tell you my favorite part about this sequence is we've sort of mentioned is that Roxanne gets in. She lets Wally in the back door. They basically step to the side of the stage where they see Automan stripping. And Roxanne turns to Wally, and she's just like, "Well, that's not good." And she turns around and walks out the exit and is gone from the episode.
Is that right?
Yeah, because she's gone. Like, she walks out. She's
I didn't even notice.
And she's gone. Because what happens is Automan leaves the stage. We cut to Automan and Wally leaving in the car, in the auto car. And they're like, "All right, I figured out who did it. Those burglars who are also leaving the club right now. Let's just follow them to the next burglar and catch them," which they do.
Yeah.
And it's so funny.
Yeah, there's the usual car chase.
Yeah, they do a car chase.
And they stick stuff in the road. It's the same bit you've seen a million times. That, this one they say it's like
they're shepherding them toward a police station.
They basically go to the police station. That's the gag,
the idea is like, we drive so fast we can make them do all the turns and drive into a police station.
But did you hear? But I should say one thing that Wally gets a line just before the commercial.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
After they get him, he goes, "Anybody order 2 hot robbers to go?"
Yeah, that was pretty good.
But what's the gag? What's the joke?
He's like a police delivery man to the police, but with robbers.
Yeah, but what's it a pun of? What's a robber a pun of? A hot dog? I don't understand.
Two hot pizzas, I think. I don't know.
It's like, Wally, you're not funny.
It's not very good, but yes. What I liked is, unlike most of these episodes...
He's a regular Gypsy Rose Lee, am I right?
What I liked is, unlike most of these episodes, they've solved the crime in the first 15 minutes. It's over. The case is closed.
It's just spinning the wheels and time wasting.
Well, now kind of what happens is that guy who stole the microchip, his name's Stanton. Stanton's excited. They've caught the bad guy. They call him. They're like, "Drop by the police station, pick up your stuff." He goes. All of his jewelry is there, with the sole exception of the ring, for no reason. There's no reason the robbers wouldn't have kept the ring with the jewelry.
And they never explain it either. They don't explain it.
The robbers don't know anything that was up with this ring.
That's what I mean. And it's just like he just left it in his pocket, which also, I'm going to say, doesn't make sense because, so what you have to know is both these robbers get arrested. Everything they have, for some reason, they have all the jewels.
It's all in that car they're driving.
They keep the jewels in the car. So the police are able to confiscate and get back everything. But for some reason, the one guy keeps the ring, I'm assuming in his pocket.
No, it's not even that. Because when they finally go back to get it, he's hidden it in a rooftop light fixture
Oh, that's right.
on the roof of the strip
But he
club.
doesn't know why he would have done that.
But no, there's no reason he would have done it.
I forgot. I thought he just had it on him.
Anyway, it makes no sense. But Stanton's all upset. He's like, I didn't get the ring back. He calls up the mob. And he's just like, hey, mob, I didn't get the ring back. But as soon as these two burglars make bail, I'm going to like ask them what they did with the ring.
Yeah.
And at this point, the mob's just like, okay, well, what do we need him for anymore?
I did like this part. They're basically like, well, we don't need you. We can do that ourselves. So they just kill him.
But between this phone call, so he makes this phone call to the mob, says, I'll talk to the burglars when they get out of prison. Hangs up. And the mob's like, well, let's just kill him. Let's move on. Between that hang up and like 2 minutes later, the Stanton guy picks up the phone, calls Wally, has a complete change of heart, says, hi, is this Wally? I stole something from my job, and I think my life's in danger. Hangs up, murdered.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? Like, there's no reason he would have called Wally. He would never have called Wally.
Yeah. But there's something else that I like, and I think it's just because of a book I've just been reading, but the bad guy, the big, I don't know what his name is.
The mob boss.
The mob boss. Yeah. It's every time it's a mob boss in this show. But the mob boss in this, every time he has a line, it's kind of like a weird veiled threat. And I wrote down a couple. Like he says at one point to Stanton before he gets killed, he goes, if you don't find it, tell your wife to dress in black. He says stuff like that. And the thing is, like I was just reading a Richard Stark novel, which are just so much better at this sort of thing where you have that kind of difficult dialogue to sell. Because I would have loved for him to be like, what do you mean wear black? Explain it to me. And he's like, oh, I just had a very pithy comment where I had to give you. Because later on he says, let me see if I can find it. Oh, yeah. He goes, the one guy goes, yeah, he gave us a great excuse. It's on his toe tag. And I was like, what? Why would you say it like that? Just like, we killed him.
Yeah. Who is the actor playing this mob boss? I recognized him, but I had no idea who he was.
It's a character actor, James T. Callahan.
As soon as I saw him, I'm like, Jordan will know who.
Oh
this
no,
is.
sorry. That's sorry. James T. Callahan's playing Stanton, and playing the mobster it's because it's a Canadian actor. His name's John Vernon. He's in a ton of stuff. John Vernon, yeah. And I think is still acting, but mostly voice work because he's got a great voice.
Yeah, as soon as I saw him, I'm like, oh, I know who this guy is, but I don't know from what.
Yeah.
At any rate, yes, this is basically the mob kills Stanton, and so Wally shows up to like ask Stanton what he meant by that phone call of like, I stole something. He's dead.
And what I like
He's in the pool.
He was in the pool, and they're like, they threw him in the pool and drowned him as well.
Yeah, I guess so.
And Jack's like, it might be a mob hit. I was like, yeah, it could be, I guess. He's dead in the pool, but it's like, or he could have just drowned in the pool.
Maybe he just fell in.
Or maybe he got married to William Shatner.
Oh, no.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a while. It has been a while.
Yeah. The joke there is that William Shatner may have killed his wife in the pool.
May not have as well. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, he may have. He may not have.
We're not a true crime podcast. At any rate, this basically sends Otto and Wally off to break into this man's employer's, the BEK Corporation.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
I just call it Beck.
Very, very evocative name. It's that classic thing where they merge. Otto walks through all the walls, and just like a normal police investigation, you break into a location.
Yeah. Well, the part that's great is so they break into the. I think he does his finger zap is how they get in there.
Yeah, something like that.
This company is a security company, correct?
Yeah, is that some sort of tech company that seems to specialize in
that's
security?
the thing. But they have robots around. At least one robot.
There is one robot on display in the lobby.
Yes. And this robot's not just a sculpture or a statue. It's a working robot, and I wrote it down. It's the Beck Corporation's Cyborg 780.
Cyborg good.
Yeah, Cyborg 780. And it has what we've again, another sort of terrifying thing they've added to this universe is that all technology is sentient and has personality and thoughts and feelings in this world and can communicate with one another. And this robot is like sad and like lovelorn, and they meet this thing and it wants to join them, and Wally's like, I can't, he's stupid, and Automan's like, you've made him feel bad, and I was like, yes, you've made this robot feel bad.
Wally's very rude to that robot for no reason.
And you're like, the only reason that robot's there is clearly it's a plot point for later on.
Barely.
But
it is funny, and Automan treats it a little bit like a dog.
Mm-hmm.
he's very upset that
It sounds like R2-D2.
Yeah, and he's very upset. He feels it's almost a prisoner here, and like the robot's immediately like following him around like a puppy, and they have to send it away so it doesn't attract attention. That leads to the next scene where they find the computer. Where I don't know what they're hoping to get out of this computer, but
It's the Delilah 100.
yes, the prototype security computer Delilah 100, and the entire purpose of this scene is this computer has a female voice, and there's this real like.
They're going for something. Did you
like
understand what they were going for? Like something pseudo-sexual, maybe?
Well, it's kind of like a screwball comedy where like they're very flirty, but like they also don't like each other. Like that's what Automan and this computer have.
So what you learned earlier is they try to get the information of this computer, but Automan can't access it from
the keyboard. Like he's trying to hack the keyboard, but
so they have to go.
Security's too good.
Yeah, so they go. That's why they go to the building initially, and he tries to get into the computer, but they're sort of have this tete-a-tete where every time he tries to do something, she blocks him and then makes kind of a sarcastic comment. But they do sort of play this weird, like I said earlier, like this almost sexual aspect to it of when he's entering her. There's this sort of
they
like
do say he has to enter her, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and then it's like they're exhausted, like they're almost having this weird physical struggle that's
he's has to wrestle information out of her.
Yeah, but he sort of acts, and he's like exhausted after because he's met his match.
It's very odd. I will say this though, I liked the idea of this like rom-com meet cute between Otto and a computer way more than I've liked it between him and a human being.
Well, and I think I said it in the last episode, but this could have been the episode. It could have been Wally needs Automan to break some sort of code or access some sort of files, and what he finds is he's met his match.
Yeah,
and the whole episode is him having this challenge about someone who might be better than him, and him realizing that or finding he has to think outside the box or whatever it is. And maybe that's not that more interesting an episode, but just to jam this in as a throwaway scene seems weird.
It is weird.
I mean, it is what the show does.
And ultimately, like, even when he gets inside the computer and wrestles the information he needs, he doesn't actually find the information he needs. What he finds is the computer finally tells him, I don't know, but we keep witness security stuff on microchips here. And they're able to piece the rest together. So they don't actually even get any useful information.
No.
The whole point is Automan's tired now. Not tired enough, though, because at this point some security guards catch them and the robot has to distract them as they jump in the auto car and drive away. But it is this lead up to the idea that
the guards also fire at them pretty indiscriminately.
I mean, they're just private security. They don't care. But they basically now are like, okay, we know that ring probably had a microchip in it, and we've apparently heard in an off-camera sequence that those burglars got out on bail.
Yeah.
So what we should do as two police officers is break into one of the burglars' homes and wait for him there.
So he can tell them where the ring is?
Yeah, apparently. So they can ask about the ring.
Yeah.
They get there, and as Wally has stated, or as Automan has stated, he's very tired. So he's like, instead of zapping electricity out of a power socket like he normally
done
would,
many times, yeah,
he will instead disappear for a period of time.
Yeah. And so then, of course, as soon as he leaves, Wally's there by himself, and Wally's back to his helpless mode. So the bad guy...
mob bosses or the mob goons show up.
They show up, and now Wally's in trouble.
Yeah, Wally's got to pretend like he's the burglar.
Yeah, so that's the gag that happens. He's like, I got to think on my feet. Instead of having them just get rid of me, I'll pretend to be this guy. I can't remember what his name is, but he pretends to be one of the robbers and sort of talks his way into them not only not killing them, but that he wants them to bring him to the main mob boss, because then he'll tell them.
Yeah, he'll negotiate something with the main mob boss. And, like, the stakes are high because the mob goons are like, well, we can't kill this one. We killed the other burglar already.
Yeah. And I think you get the toe tag line here somewhere.
Yeah. And Wally goes back, meets the other mob boss, who's kind of like, I'll give you the ring for $25,000. And the guy's like, I don't have that kind of money on hand. He's like, well, I'll wait.
Yeah.
And I guess it's all just to buy time. Unfortunately for Wally, the mobsters, these mobsters are actually pretty smart compared to our usual ones. One of them are like, I'm just going to stay in this guy's house and look for the ring. You take him back to me, but like, if we can find it here, we'll just murder him. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so this mob goon's looking through the house, and the real burglar comes home. Old Lieutenant Commander Ty, whatever.
Yeah.
From Sizzler. He comes home, meets the goon there, and he's just like, yeah, I stole the ring. I'll take it right to it.
Yeah.
And of course,
and the jig's up, so they know Wally's faking.
Wally's not it. So they're like, let's bring them all to the strip club, and we'll look for the ring there. Of course, this is also the exact moment that Automan reappears in the apartment, overhears everything. So he also races to the strip club. So as like they're all at the strip club, the guy's pulling the ring out of the light fixture to hand it over. Automan causes a power surge so the lights go down for a second so Wally can grab the ring and run out. And as Wally runs out, him and Otto merge, and then Otto runs out onto the stage of the strip club so he'll strip while they wait for police backup to come because they can't get him while he's stripping.
Yeah, I don't know why. I
Like,
don't know why.
The mob can't run out on stage in front of that mob of women who's
Yeah, it's like-
cheering.
Like, just have two people grab him and be like,
Drag him off.
and then be like, oh, that was weird. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. It is just basically to buy time.
Yeah.
Reinforcements arrive. The mobsters are all arrested. The list is recovered. Is another successful case.
oh, but then we go back to the station.
Yeah, we gotta do the button at the end.
We find out that I think that the place is gonna have higher security or something like that.
What they say, this made me laugh because there's the Delilah like 1000 who like he forced that information out of. They basically say it's like they're never gonna trust Delilah 1000 with that kind of security again. I'm like, but she didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, deactivator.
Anyway, and then like Wally's like, and that lady from the strip club who owns it, she keeps calling and asking where you are, Otto. I said I fled the country because you're a wanted man. And then Roxanne throws up the door and she's like, and he's like, Automan, you're late for your shift at Zippers. And Automan's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, so you find out he's still stripping
He's
because he
still
likes
stripping.
it so much.
He's still stripping, yeah.
Yeah.
What a turn.
Yeah.
Jordan, are you glad
Well,
we waited so long?
I was kind of disappointed in this one because I think this could have been either, and I'm not saying it was better, but it could have been a lot zanier and sillier for what this premise is, or a lot raunchier.
That's the thing, is the strip club is barely used.
It barely used. That's the thing. It's like they tease it that there's going to be something about it, and there's a reason for it, and it could have been anything.
Yeah,
Could be
100%.
anything.
Could have been anything.
Could have been a club. It could have been an office. It doesn't matter.
Back to that magic club.
Oh yeah, the magic club. Yeah.
At least we got some magic.
What was that lady? I don't know if you remember. Remember she had something. She was like, "This is gonna be a real stinker" or something. What did she say?
Oh yeah, this is gonna be. What was it?
A floppo or something.
Floppo, yeah. It's gonna be a real floppo.
Yeah.
That was what Zippers was.
Yeah. It was a real floppo.
I don't know. Any final notes on these two episodes, Jordan?
Now let's rank them.
Yeah, all right. What do you think about Murder Take One?
You know, in some ways, it's just a standard episode of Automan. It's got whatever highs there are, and it's got all the lows there are. But I found him more irritating than normal on this. But I mean, it's just so like nothing. This show, like, I find it hard to have any real strong feelings. I think you have stronger feelings. For me, it's just like, what are we beating up this person who's already dumb? So I have 4 to 10.
4 to 10.
You know?
I don't.
It's like, Automan, you can't do long division. He's like, I can't. So what am I going to say?
I mean, I said it at the top of this episode. This show's just become what wacky job does Otto get this week?
Hey, it's true.
And honestly, I would like it more if that was all it was.
Or if there was a reason for things, or there was a consequence to things. But because they get so convoluted in this nonsense, it just becomes that. It's just putting hats on for no reason.
If it was a comedy about wacky Otto trying a new job every week, that'd be fine. It's really as they have to interweave a crime and this one, I mean, next one doesn't make much sense either, but this one, especially with the double cross at the end, where it's just like, also, I'm changing boyfriends. I'm like, what? I don't care.
I know. It's so odd.
I'm going to give it a 2.
Yeah, okay.
And now, the one you've been waiting for, Jordan, Zippers.
Ugh, I was really disappointed in Zippers.
You built it up so much.
It's because I saw the synopsis and I was like, oh, how are they gonna ruin this? And leave it to Automan. They did. I don't know. I thought it was a little bit better than the last episode. I don't even know why. I mean, 4.5. Is that too high?
It's hard to say. I can't tell which one of these episodes I like less.
It's not. This show is not terrible. Look, it's not good. It's a quite bad show. But is it like, it's not as offensive as some of the shows we've seen?
No.
There's stuff in here. There's no question. But it's not as poorly produced. Like, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's just like a dumb show that still doesn't know what it wants to be, and the tone is all over the place.
They ran out of ideas maybe 2 episodes in.
You're probably right.
And have been recycling like the one idea they have. I mean, I would say the only thing that's changed is at some point probably 2 or 3 episodes ago they decided, what if Automan had a weird job every week? And now that's what it is.
And they've recycled footage and gags. Like, we've seen the gag of them running someone off the road because of a right angle turn like 6 times probably.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, there's just never anything. So for me, I'm just like, I am more bored because it's like, it's the same show almost every, like,
yeah.
He was an actor, and the joke at the end is like, I'm quitting acting even though I could be very popular. Now he's a stripper. The joke at the end is like, I'm quitting stripping even though I could be, like, it's this, like, they're the same episode.
I think weirdly more of an issue than his overpower problem, which I think we mentioned early on, because they've added this, he gets tired because he just has too many powers, is that because he's also really good at everything he tries, it's hard to create a situation where that's interesting. He learns guitar, he's great at it. He learns how to ride a motorbike, he's great at it. He learns to strip, he's great at it. He learns to act, he's great at it. So it's like, there's no conflict, there's nothing interesting because they don't know how to weave that into anything, because they have to reset every episode. So it's like, he's great at something, everyone loves him, but he has to walk away because...
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to write this episode still, so I'll get to it right now.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
The only thing that I felt was different between these 2 episodes, because they're exactly the same, was that the convoluted plot was just spread out a little bit more, but only slightly. But I still can barely tell the difference between these 2 episodes, so I guess I have to give it a 2 again.
Okay.
But maybe it should be a 1. I don't know.
I don't know. I know. I kind of feel the same way. We were saying about this before we recorded, but like, it feels like I'm ranking it based on how I kind of felt when I was watching it. It almost has nothing to do with these episodes at this point because they're so interchangeable. And when we look back on this show a year from now, we're going to barely remember what episode he did what. It's like, there was an episode he did a guitar. But does it matter? No, because it had nothing to do with the episode. Or is it the episode where he dressed up as a police officer? Does it matter? Not really.
It's going to be so hard to tell these individual episodes apart. Like, Automan is in itself forgettable, but like, from episode to episode... truly, we've never watched anything that is this much of a void.
Yeah.
I just feel like every episode is a blank, empty void that's there's no intention to leave you with any impression.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting way to look at it. I think you're right. It's almost like they know this is a time waster. You know it's a time waster, but you're going to watch TV anyway, so we're going to give you content. But there's not really much here. Like, you're not supposed to think about it. I don't even really think you're even supposed to have that much fun because it's not even like. I hope this is entertaining to listen to, but the episodes could be a real drag because they, like, even when there can be something fun, they don't really want to do it. They'd rather have, it'd be fun if he's a stripper, but they're like, what if we just see him do kicks for 4 minutes? It's like, well, that's not fun for anybody. Also, by the way, it should have been Wally stripping. Yeah, that's the gag.
I mean, that is the problem with all of these episodes. They've reversed the roles wrong.
Yeah.
Automan's the detective. He should be running the case, and then the case should always require Wally, the introvert, to have to act, to have to strip, to have to go undercover in a way he does not want to.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
To buy auto time. But they have reversed the roles, and as a result, have stripped any conflict out of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's, like, it doesn't solve all the problems, but it is
better.
But it plays to the actual characters you've defined, which they're even now blurring because I think they made Automan too perfect. So they're like, well, he's also jealous, so that'll be his thing. And then Wally was too much of a wuss, but he's also great at karate. You're like, oh, okay, sure. Well, you're just muddying the waters of these already ill-defined, not very good characters.
Yeah. I mean,
we're almost at the end. We've done something that almost no one has ever done, which is watch all of Automan. So that's an achievement.
You want to see where the ratings are right now?
Yeah. Well, I know it's dipped below 5.
That means I only have to watch 1 next week. If we bail out.
No, we watch both.
Why would we watch both? We take the escape.
Come on.
You really want to watch this last episode?
We have to. We've come this close.
I want to skip this last episode.
No, we got to watch both.
We'll watch 13, not 12.
No, we got to watch both.
You're breaking the rules, Jordan.
Just one last podcast, 12 and 13. We can't not give the fans what they want. They want episode 12. Automan dresses up as a offensive ethnic stereotype.
I've given the fans so much already.
We got to watch it.
All right, I won't even punch it in if you're going to make me watch it. I can't believe we're going to watch it.
Come on, 12 and 13.
We can save it for something else.
Well, we'll figure it out.
All right. We're not even going to check it. We'll have an argument off air about it. All right, you guys.
It's for the bonus episodes, our argument.
That wraps it up for the episode. You can tune in next week for one of 2 possible episodes. In the meantime, you can email us at continuumdrag@gmail.com. We probably won't have time to get to any final Automan thoughts, but if you have anything interesting to say, who knows?
What else could we possibly say about Automan?
Who knows where that'll go?
Unless your name is what's it?
Auto J Man.
You're Donnie Lonigan. Who's the guy who played Automan?
Chuck Wagner.
Chuck Wagner. Unless it's Chuck Wagner writing in, what could we possibly have to say?
And then on Instagram and Twitter, the handle there is @continuumdrag.
You'll see him stripping.
See him acting.
Don't worry, it's really PG.
Very PG. It is so PG that the stuff with the women that came before it is insulting.
Yeah, it's true.
And that, I guess, wraps it up for the episode. So, listener, thanks for joining us. And Jordan, I'll see you next week.
See you then.
Continuum Drag is recorded in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Rex Seidler. Produced by Jordan Dullock and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Hughes.